This week on the Droids, Tony Gilroy is back to write the Cassian Andor series, more images of the rise of Skywalker and Zorri Bliss, and of course John Boyega getting out with the tweets. We'll talk about the Resistance just a bit, and Mark Hamill and Adam Driver, they're out there saving the real world, animals, dogs to be specific. We'll talk about it all this week on the Droids.
Whoa!
Welcome back to the Droids You're Looking For, a Star Wars podcast. Alongside Chris and Sam, I am Mike, and thrilled to be back for what is sure to be our last podcast that doesn't have major news for the next 2.5 months.
That's
as
right.
The onslaught of Rise of Skywalker promotional material begins. We're getting little tidbits here and there. We talked about what we'll see. But guys, this is maybe our last low down, chill, relaxed pod before everything ramps up.
That's
It's
right.
working. It's working.
It's working. Remember this moment. Remember this feeling. We'll never be back here again.
And we're sad to be without Ryan because we know this is probably the last moment that Ryan will not have full-on anxiety about
Exactly.
Episode 9, The Rise
Maybe
of
that's
Skywalker.
why. Maybe he's taking it in. Maybe he's watching some Star Wars tonight.
That's why
He's
we
like,
don't have him.
it's reminding me of the new one.
When he listens back to this, his heart, we're all gonna have our iPhones and Apple Watches start beeping at us that Ryan's heart rate is getting too high.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're gonna have a sync on that for sure.
Wait, we should all use our Apple Watches during The Rise of Skywalker, track our heart rates for the entire film, come back,
right.
report on what happened, and what moment in the
good.
movie we had the greatest reaction.
I like that.
We're doing it.
Yeah, that actually is. That might be. I'll borrow. Rachel has an Apple Watch that I can borrow. I'll see. That'd be interesting to see. For me, I guarantee you. For me, it's gonna be like the 10 minutes before the movie.
Yeah, for me, it's just gonna be all the bathroom breaks.
That.
I
Maybe
think
when Chris was in the bathroom and heard a spoiler on how it ends.
Oh man, I can't believe C-3PO was Chewbacca's dad.
I think it'll be the moment that I get angry about Palpatine being in the film. That'll be when it really spikes and rockets through. You know, let us know what moment of the upcoming Episode 9 you might actually feel like is going to send your heart into a racing Apple Watch tracked scenario. Send us at droidspod@gmail.com, Twitter droidspod, Facebook the Droids Podcast, Instagram droidspod, and of course, rate and review us on iTunes. Let us know what you think of the podcast. We'll, get you some special goods. Sam's got stuff he's sending
Sam's
away.
got
A Mandalorian
the
figure,
Rose
right? What else
offer,
is
right?
the Rose offer. That's right.
The Rose offer stands. The Rose stands for no man who doesn't review. I don't know. I don't have it. I don't have it, you guys. I went for it. I went. I went boldly.
Rose-related news. I got my Rose shirt. I got the Rose Rebel shirt, and I can report that it is unofficial. The graphic looks a little kind of like blurry, and then also the tag that came with it wasn't clipped onto the shirt. It just was a tag from The Last Jedi. So
yeah, it's 100%. It was definitely. I did see the shirt when Chris opened it. It was definitely pulled from a JPEG.
Yeah,
they're not using any.
Where do
any
you
IRS
find your
file.
bootleg Rose apparel?
I don't even know the website. I literally just typed in Rose T-shirts. First thing that popped up. Clicked buy. So
I think Chris actually does. I think he pretty heavily advertises it on last episode of the pod. I think he drops the name of some site.
I do. Okay,
a few times.
we don't endorse them selling bootleg content, but if you want it, it goes well with my Jyn Erso Rebel shirt. So, nevertheless, I like it.
Well, Chris, I ran through all of the different places you can find and talk to us here for the Droids Pod. We got to have a new place where you might want to check us out. Where can you enjoy this show?
That's right.
in a
The
new
Droids
endeavor?
have been pulling a little fast one on everybody, and we've been putting our episodes on the YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/droidspod, just like the Gmail address.
Which I
So
think
we
we had some wonderful playthroughs from Ryan on Battlefront.
So you could go there. There's a few playthroughs. So I'll tell you what, not to put sand in Sam's pockets. But if you go there and you subscribe to the channel or comment on any videos, that will enter you in for a chance to win a Rose Tico item.
Wait, what's sand in Sam's pocket?
It gets everywhere. I hate it.
Just adding more things to Sam.
So when you take the money out, the sand that was in your pocket accumulates as it falls off the money.
It just gets everywhere. The sand, it just gets everywhere.
It's coarse.
It's coarse. So go to their YouTube channel. Go to YouTube. You can search Droids Pod as the username, and we've got about 25 episodes of the pod on there. So that's a treat.
Basically, if it's your preferred media consumption, if it's just been a drag lugging your heavy phone around, and you'd rather sit at a desktop and watch,
and you can admire the box art for the pod.
You can subscribe and listen that way. Just want to make all our people aware. Or maybe you have a friend. You've recommended the pod a dozen times, and your friend or your dad or your grandmother keeps going, I don't know how iPods work. I don't know what a podcast is. I don't know what I'm doing. And say, here, go to youtube.com/droidspie. Oh, YouTube. I watch the YouTube all the time. I love it. And then they'll be listening. So that could be a story
Sam,
from your life.
Is your grandmother strong bad?
Little trick. Trick them into watching YouTube. They won't even know they're listening to a podcast. They'll think it's a viral video.
We call her Grammy Strongs.
Well, and also, if you keep an eye on that channel, maybe you'll see another YouTube playthrough for Jedi Fallen Order. Ryan, I have promised that you will do a playthrough again.
Hey, there we are. That's really how the foundation of this pod works, is that we make promises when the others aren't on.
All the time. That's why we've built that 1/6 scale Millennium Falcon for the second time.
That's right.
Because Chris said he would do it.
That's right. We'll get that video up soon. It's just a lot of footage to capture the whole thing.
A lot of buffering.
Six times the size of the original.
All right, let's get into the news. There's just a few tidbits from throughout the galaxy for this week, but, Tony Gilroy has been announced as coming back to the world of Star Wars. He did come in and write, direct 40% of Rogue One following Disney and Lucasfilm needing to make a change after things weren't working with Gareth Edwards. So he had a large impact on that film, and he will now be writing the Cassian Andor series. How much of that series, we don't know, but we know it likely will be a limited, maybe 8-episode season. Could potentially be multiple seasons, but it's not going to be a full 13, 24 episodes. It will be like 8 episodes, and Gilroy will write those, or at least some of them, potentially come back for more. But upon this news, what was your reaction? There's a lot that I like about Rogue One. You can't really point the finger to what he did and what someone else did. I think there's maybe complications about him as personality, but anytime that you have someone that Lucasfilm is now confident in working on a project, that's probably a bit reassuring, because Kathleen Kennedy has gone through the ringer with different individuals who haven't worked out. So now that they're kind of doubling down on someone who has made a film that did make several $100 million,
right?
I think
success by many measures.
It seems like a good call. He also probably knows the voice of the characters well.
I want to jump in before we... Sorry, just say, he's also... The announcement also says he's also directing.
Wonder if it'll be multiple or maybe just like an individual episode.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if that makes him a showrunner or if he's just writing and direct, or if he's doing it all or one. But I just wanted to point that out too.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to Disney's approach on a lot of these side series, is that they're hyping up directors. Less so than the showrunner, which is interesting.
It is interesting.
I'll be honest, the thought of Rogue One, I always feel kind of gets lost in the fold, just because Solo was a little divisive as far as fans like it.
It's the worst.
And the thought of Rogue One, the thought of the original crew and stuff coming back to do the Rogue One series had never crossed my mind.
I think my excitement level definitely varies. I find Tony Gilroy to be an absolutely insufferable blowhard. He is so far high on his own supply. I was going to say something that we'd have to cut. He's very high on his own supply. He thinks the world of himself, and definitely has the confidence that only a white male privileged director, who has a brother in the industry, could have. Having said that, I've definitely Rogue One. When I saw it in theaters, I was kind of underwhelmed, and I think I've really gone through a totally different journey on that movie. I think I appreciate it a lot more now. I do think the biggest issues with the movie are sort of the like structural and the assembly of it, and I really don't know who to. I don't know whether that's Gareth Edwards didn't have the right vision and Tony Gilroy did what he could, or if Tony Gilroy really messed it up to force shoehorn stuff in. But regardless, the only issues I have are kind of with the pacing of it. I think the look, feel, tone of it is great, and I think Tony Gilroy in between. I think he did that movie Beirut with John Hamm and what's the woman from Gone Girl? I'm blanking on her name right. Rosamund Pike. And what I think is interesting about that is that was very much like sort of a slow burn espionage movie. It's middling. It's not great, but that's the kind of story I think. Like, I want a spy movie set in, like, I think a sci-fi spy movie sounds really, really cool, and I think that's what this could potentially be.
Well, I think you're definitely on the right track. The showrunner is named as Stephen Schiff, who also worked on The Americans and.
I didn't realize that was official.
Yeah, that's what Variety is reporting. So he's going to be working alongside Stephen Schiff, who remains on board as showrunner. So,
I think it begs the question that you're talking about showrunners before. Who is the showrunner of The Mandalorian? Is it Favreau? We don't even know.
Wait, Favreau's the showrunner. I thought.
Is it Favreau and Fellini?
Favreau and I think Favreau's the showrunner and Fellini. I'm gonna look this
Filoni.
up. Did I say?
Yeah.
Did I say it wrong that time?
I said it wrong.
Man,
I started.
Fellini, that would be
you
a
say
huge
Fellini,
change to Star Wars.
I say Filoni.
But I didn't. I don't know that we've had clarity on that show running aspect. I know that he wrote spec scripts. I would think that he's the showrunner, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's the. I believe. Yeah, it says he's the showrunner.
Is Disney dissipating the showrunner of television with Disney Plus?
No, we just named two of them. One of them's Jon Favreau, and one of them's Schiff.
But it's just interesting they're naming episode directors.
It is.
And
it is.
They've done that
with the Obi-Wan series. They named a director, and
who's also a director on The Mandalorian.
I'm curious if...
And then they did that with Mandalorian, too. They named like the fleet of directors that they're going to roll out.
But the difference is that The Mandalorian is like a typical season of TV with multiple directors. So far, they've directed one... They've announced one director apiece for Obi-Wan and for the Cassian Andor series, which begs the question... Are these more sort of like the short, like maxi series, prestige television from a single director?
A limited series. They want those Oscars.
Well, maybe are we talking
or Emmys?
Sherlock-esque with 3 90-minute episodes in a season.
Right.
But I guess my question is: are those directed by one person, or
I think we'll find more. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be just one person for the whole.
It would be cool if Stephen Moffat was involved in one of these.
I would love Stephen Moffat to do a Star Wars show, or a Marvel show.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much covers the news there because we don't have a whole lot more on Tony Gilroy.
Not
but
much,
I would say
yeah,
it's still very exciting to me to see Diego Luna, Alan Tudyk come back when they were at D23 and on stage. It's really appealing for us to see more of this world. And aside from who Gilroy is when he's not writing, I'm optimistic and excited about what we're going to get from this series.
He's a real moof milker.
Just look up Tony Gilroy's episode on Brian Koppelman's screenwriting podcast. The man, he's awful. He's so annoying. He's so arrogant. Like, he's the worst.
You know, awful people sometimes create great art. And as long as those awful people aren't also hurting lots of people in the process, I think we can enjoy it. Maybe.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. No comment.
Well, I've already paid for it, so I hope we enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm subscribed for 3 years.
Yeah.
Locked in.
So we've already paid his
watching it.
salary, so.
Well, we
Joke's
saw
on us.
another image that has been leaked out. Entertainment Weekly has had a number of Star Wars images as of late. The Mandalorian, we saw several images from Entertainment Weekly and a couple of short articles. And there's now another image of Zorri Bliss, Keri Russell's character from The Rise of Skywalker. And we learn a little bit more about her, but the image is of her clearly with Poe Dameron, because you can get a sense of the shadowy hair. There's no other hair that is like that of Oscar Isaac. But they're overlooking what looks like some sort of city, and it is Keri Russell in the helmet. It is a question whether or not we will see her ever out of the helmet in this movie. I think we will. I don't think JJ's going to keep her hidden.
And she is holding some kind of Favreau-esque coin, I've noticed.
Favreau's influencing the saga films and not just his own series. But
He's handing out some coins.
The little details that we did get is that she's got a checkered past, questionable morals, an old friend of Poe, who is really there to kind of describe more of who Poe is and is very intimate and familiar with Poe. Now, we don't know that they're intimate, but they're very well acquainted. Yeah. And in it just says that she is complicated and is neither First Order or Resistance. Kind of sounds a bit like DJ, a little bit of a DJ character. But those are the details they gave from it, other than that she's probably reprising the role of Felicity, who at the end of the series time jumped into Star Wars.
That's right. It all works out.
Is that like coin or device she's holding? This is like my memory being bad. Is that similar to the pucks that we're seeing appear in the Mandalorian trailers as like the sort of like data
like
data
bounty
delivery
collection?
series for bounty collection?
Interesting.
Because that would be kind of interesting, and it would be just the kind of thing that like Disney's shown they do with like the dice and stuff.
The dice.
So I just can't remember what that thing looks like. I if I recall, that's more of a true like hockey puck looking thing, and this looks like more of a disc. So
time has advanced. So
also,
maybe
do we think it's a coin, or do we think it's like a data disc for a slicer? Could she be a slicer?
Knowing Star Wars, it's definitely the plans to something.
Oh, that's a good
It could be. Do you know what it could honestly be? It could be the plans to the Death Star.
You know what it could be?
4?
It could be
the sunken Death Star. It could just be the old plans on the disc.
Hey, actually,
it's like when you transfer your zip disk to a CD-ROM.
It could be the plans to the map to the Death Star that's on R2. You gotta jam that in.
All
R2.
I know is that that's going inside of one of those droids.
I think it's going to be what opens the door to Palpatine's chamber in the Death Star, and that's where they're going to find something related. To Palpatine.
Have you ever heard the tale of Darth Plagueis?
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe it's the Tale of Darth Plagueis on audiobook.
It's on it's extended director's cut on Blu-ray.
You know, the Palpatine had a podcast, and he talked a lot about Darth Plagueis on that podcast.
Hey, maybe it's episodes of the Droids pod. You never know.
It does look like it might be droid related.
Have you heard this podcast? You're going to want to listen to it. Poe, put this in your ship.
That's how she sounds. Wow, they're going Chris Nolan with the voice.
She's got voice modulation, like Leia's mask.
Do you feel in control? This is a podcast.
There it is. Our
you
Batman
merely
reference.
put on the helmet. I was born in it. My name's Keri Russell.
Well, we got Batman. I was really surprised we didn't hear James Bond when we were talking about a spy in space.
Yeah. Well, it was there. I felt it.
You guys, Chris felt the trembling of the Force.
Yeah.
Have you felt
little
it?
Moonraker was ripe.
Honestly, underrated. We should watch Moonraker. Oh, can we do that for the pod? Could we do a watch of Moonraker?
That's a good outpost. That's a good outpost.
Oh, that'd be my dream.
Well, this is not news, but Sam, you want to take us through a little bit of John Boyega going on a tweet storm, some of the things that we heard from a cast member of The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, boy. You guys, this delighted me to no end. If only because it seemed to annoy a certain subset of fandom that I do not like. But so I think we actually, maybe we mentioned this on the pod, or maybe it was offline just on our group text chain. But so John Boyega's agent had posted an Instagram photo that a lot of fans locked onto that confirmed that a trailer would drop on Monday Night Football, like seemingly to say like definitely happening. And so needless to say, a lot of nerds who don't know what a pigskin is watched a football game that they didn't have interest in on Monday till halftime when there was no trailer. And so there was some dissatisfaction, some upset fans. Now, I don't know who's playing next Monday. There's every chance that this is just happening next Monday. But as part of a way to sort of, quell against the backlash, John Boyega tweeted out, Star Wars fans, I don't know when the trailer is coming out, and I haven't made any announcements about it, so let's just wait for the studio to release it. And then he had the little, like, prayer hands emoji. Not prayer hands, like praise hands emoji. And then he followed up with another tweet. He said, I definitely think it's soon, though. Release is around the corner, so I'm sure the gears are in motion. That's my honest take on it. Now relax. To which people really, took umbrage, I guess, at being told to relax. So one person said, don't tell us to relax. Y'all are in no position to keep us, the fans, waiting after that trash curse word movie in 2017. To which John Boyega replied, I'm an actor. Please email the right department, LOL. And then somebody else replied that your agent is about to be public enemy number one to a good number of Star Wars fans. To which John Boyega replied, my agent couldn't care less, to be honest. LOL. And so it's very tame. He seems to just be taking a... well, Chris, you had a take on this that I liked.
What?
Sorry, I put Chris on the spot. Your reaction was that he's kind of adopting the mantle of another former.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
He's kind of taking on the Harrison Ford approach of Star Wars, where it's like, yeah, this is a movie I've done, but this is like just one part of me. This is not my life.
Well, it's just
it's kind of funny.
It'd be so great to see. I mean, I think the cast of these movies has done tremendously. I think they're gonna, continue to turn up all over the place. They're all gonna be huge stars, John Boyega included. And so I kind of love the idea of, he already seems to be, if indeed this is his last performance in a Star Wars film, he seems to be kind of transitioning into the post-Star Wars mode of, I don't know what it was all about. I don't care.
Exactly.
Which obviously was one of the things that delighted us about Harrison.
And throughout the production of this, he has always been kind of like Harrison has been kind of his mentor, like in The Force Awakens. They had like a kind of a special relationship. So it's
what does that mean? Wait, what? Huh?
What does that
they
mean?
were political allies, Sam. Get your head out of the trash.
What do you mean they had a special relationship?
They became like buds on the set.
Is this like a camp counselor? We need to tell somebody about?
No. They became like buds on the set. Oh my god!
I look forward to him being like, people are going to come up to him and say FN 2187. He's like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about that. That's what the Harrison Ford just outright says.
I mean, all that being said, though, he has been one of the most enthusiastic people. And even when there was a 2-hour Galaxy's Edge show on Freeform, ABC, something, a couple weeks ago, you could tell his excitement was not just for, all right, I'm here and they're paying me to sit here and talk about this new land. He actually was excited about it and the new Rise of Resistance ride.
I think he's got...
Absolutely.
I think his most special relationship was with Eunice Wu Tomo. They seem to really have,
they're buds.
They seem to enjoy, they're always Instagramming at parties with each other, they seem to both share the idea, ain't this crazy? Which I bet
I really
it is.
like how Eunice has taken on the role. Because, I mean, there's two ways that could go, right? You could be the man in the costume and just kind of treat yourself as such and be like, well, I did my part and now I'm going home. But he's really, embraced it. He's showing up to all the stuff. He's like, hey, I'm in here. He's really taken the Mayhew mantle.
I think it's an interesting thing when you look at certain actors where it's it's a tricky thing to like catch an actor or a performer at the right sort of not only time in their career, but like at the right what am I saying? When they have the right or an appropriate sort of estimate of where their career could go. And what I mean by that is like Eunice Wu Tomo, who is awesome and great and amazing and a great ambassador, you know, probably honestly, if he were to evaluate himself either as an actor or performer or what, you know, that was never something that like he was counting on or was going to really, you know, lean into professionally.
The former Penn State basketball center wasn't counting on being the star
This is what
of
I'm
the
talking
greatest franchise in the history of cinema.
Right.
So he's an extreme example, but I think it happens sometimes. Sorry, just to like, it also happens when you have, you know, a moderately, you know, successful sort of TV actor, or maybe someone from the theater scene who it's like their career is where it is, and they get put in a role that's unexpectedly large. That it's all upside often for those people, and so it's a joy. Whereas sometimes I think you can cast big actors who are very serious actors, and it can end up. I mean, you can get great performances, but it can also bite you because, you know, I think sometimes those people can come to resent all the additional baggage that comes beyond the performance when they just want to focus on that element. And so I think there's an interesting thing of like Eunice Wu Tomo is like, I'm in this for all of what being a part of Star Wars is, and it's rad. And that's exciting.
I think it's great. And I hope he inspires like a generation of young people to be like, actors especially, to be like, I want to play Chewbacca.
Oh,
Like I think that's a fun thought to have that I never had. Like I want to be the actor that plays Chewbacca. There's only one role for him, but like I think that would be great.
I mean, he'll probably turn up. I don't know. He'll be in like John Wick 7 as like, you know, as an unbeatable assassin, and he'll have a great like violent death scene.
I think
someday.
he'll be as the nice guy assassin. He's just like, hey, John, you know, because Jonas is just too nice. He doesn't have the face of an angry assassin.
No,
I really like this idea. I know that Chad Stahelski listens. So
he's
Chad,
a number one fan. You know what? He has reviewed the podcast, and you need to get him his Rose action figure right away. So,
that is true. That's true. He did ask, and he's a special friend of mine. So I have a special friendship. I have a special relationship. So I'll have to. Chris, does that sounds cool? That all sounds cool.
That seems like it tracks, and it's perfectly acceptable. Like we all three of us have a special relationship.
Only when we're together.
Oh boy.
I think of it though that we talk about the career of Eunice Wu Tomo. One of the things that should happen in these extended films that are not part of the saga is that if they do take place in a timeline after the saga films, Chewbacca and the lifespan of Wookiees, obviously as we know, hundreds of years. Why couldn't Chewbacca continue to show up? Why couldn't we get the droids back? We could still see C-3PO. We could see R2, BB-8, Dio. They could still come up if one of these series does take place maybe 100 years after the saga.
I'm with you.
Oh, man.
Yeah, why not? Let that be the glue.
That's going to get more work for Jonas.
My heart is going to beat the fastest when we finally get that that kiss that everybody's been waiting for, the Finn Poe kiss. That's when it's going to happen.
You know, because Disney wouldn't just say two characters in the Resistance are the first gay couple in Star Wars and leave it at that. They're definitely going to come forward with a bigger moment. They're going to take a stand as a corporation, and they're not worried about how an audience receives that because they don't mind not being the most broad possible entertainment. That was meant to be criticizing them, guys. I hope it didn't sound
I gotcha.
Okay. All right, cool. Speaking of the Resistance, it's back.
Hey, it's back, baby.
And it's got 2 episodes in. We haven't been covering it regularly, but it is still quite the enjoyable series. A lot of things that will be crossing over with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi now that they continue to move deeper into the sequel trilogy timeline.
Yeah.
And it should be kind of fun.
I'm really digging it. I think I really like the new setting. I think it was a nice refreshment for the show. I almost wish they would have kind of started this a little earlier. I won't give too many spoilers away in case you're catching up, but I like it's the same level of quality, and I hope that it kind of has that. Since they know it's the final season, I hope they kind of go for broke and start doing a little more things that they wouldn't ordinarily do, and make some meatier episodes rather than just kind of the fillers that we often get with the animated series.
I think they will, and I think that they have a example to set from Rebels. Rebels did a nice job of getting very meaty towards the end.
Yeah, that's the word.
Sunday nights, keep up with the Resistance. We'll talk a little bit more, maybe more in depth as things go, and Chris and I, who I think are the only ones caught up currently, will do a little bit more of a deep dive as we get further into the Resistance final season. Last bit of information that we have spreading through the galaxy, Mark Hamill, Adam Driver, they've combined for a lot of things, destroying the Jedi Order, one intentionally, one not intentionally.
They do have that in common. I had never thought of that.
But they're bringing their powers, not of destruction, but of heroism? There it is. Heroism.
I'll take that. Yeah.
To the real world as Chris. They got into the act to help someone find and save a dog, right?
That's right, yeah. Apparently it was on a movie they were working on, or a show or something.
They're in another movie and show together? Wow.
I guess the duo worked together to locate the pooch belonging to Leos Carax, a director currently working with Driver, 35 years old, on the musical Annette in Brussels. So I don't know if it's a stage production or a movie production, but apparently the director's dog went missing. Adam Driver sent out the call to action. Mark Hamill, being the nice guy, he's on the internet a lot. Mark Hamill, this has to be true.
Yeah.
He reposted it, and it got 33,000 likes and 10,000 retweets, and they found the dog. So happy ending to that story.
So all the lesson here is be a director of a major motion picture, musical, whatever it is, and you'll get celebrities to help you find your dog.
That's
yeah,
right.
the easiest. Yeah, so if you have let's just see here. Let's just see what Mark Hamill Twitter.
3 million followers.
Okay, so all you gotta do is have a 3 million person reach, and if you're not Luke Skywalker, if you're not the star of the biggest movie franchise of all time, it's still achievable. And then you just get 3 million people following you, and then look for the right sort of sweet opportunities to shout out a lost dog, which everybody wants to help.
I think Mark Hamill, Adam Driver, for finding the dog, you get the official Droids tip of the cat.
I like we'll have to isolate that sound effect.
Yeah.
We'll have to throw that in.
Yeah.
Save that for every week.
There it is.
Well,
we should start handing out more tips. Yeah.
Should we change that to the tip of the Loth cat? To make it really Star Wars.
Oh, I like that. Tip of the Loth cat. There it is.
All right.
We just set canon. That's canon now.
I gotta admit, what's the Loth cat? I don't know this.
Man. You gotta watch
It's a
all
Rebels.
Rebels.
It's a Rebels reference.
Man.
And you know what, Sam?
I'm not caught up.
There's a lot of stuff that we'll talk about. Well, Loth Cat, I think, came up pretty early in Rebels.
Hey.
A lot of stuff we talk about with some of the other animated series, but Rebels is really pretty spectacular and adds a lot to the canon. It might have added some story that could impact Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if they're going to go that route.
I'm very excited. So I was actually trying to do things in a rough order. I was watching the animated stuff in order, and I was I don't know, maybe into the season 3 of Clone Wars, definitely late into season 2, if not 3. And when it got pulled from Netflix, and so I am looking forward to, when that subscription starts, I am counting on that as my opportunity to get really caught up on all these animated series, which I'm certain will be on there. I actually haven't looked. I mean, I assume they're on there, right?
They're all on there.
So
yeah, they got it.
So what I'll probably do is wrap up my watch of Clones and then get into Rebels before I then get into. I'll probably just start with season 2 of Resistance. Season 1 did not look interesting to me, but season 2 looks great.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Especially
like
towards
I said,
the
I'll
back
start
half.
at season 2.
Sam, your idea gets a tip nip of the Loth cat.
Yep.
Tip yip of the Loth cat. There you go. That's it. Canon. We said it. Sorry, Ryan.
I will say my second, maybe I'm most excited about The Mandalorian just because of the visuals, but the second most exciting thing to me is that Dave Filoni is a part of that and what he brought to Rebels. If he brings that kind of storytelling and mythos to that show that he did to Rebels, we're all in for a treat that expands our Star Wars world, which is really exciting.
I think he is right now the biggest purveyor of canon assets to the Star Wars series. And like he's making sure that the items that he contributes to the story are quality pieces. So I'm very excited from that aspect.
He might be the secret de facto showrunner.
Yeah, he has a very healthy love for like all elements of the series, you know, and he has a good sort of a good head on his shoulders for like what he selects to. Yeah, you know, sort of continue, and he's got a great track record. I'm definitely excited to see what he's doing in live action.
We've always kind of held the side theory that had the deal with Disney not gone through, he would have been like at the helm of the creative team at Lucas.
Yep,
I think that might have been true, but I also wonder, like, oh man, where would that have gotten him? Like, you don't know what they were going to ever move into full production. I mean, it might. I'm certain there would have been more animated stuff, but. You know, it definitely. I'm very optimistic that maybe, you know, the Mandalorian is a proving ground. Not that he needs one, but to go into like a full live action, you know, or just give him full control of something.
Yeah. Well, there's still a lot for Lucasfilm to do with Indiana Jones and whatever new series they come up with. So.
And he'll get there. I think the reason he's not doing one now is that he's also splitting his time with that final season's Clone Wars. That's a big reason why he might not be doing his own series at this moment. And why not? I mean, finishing the story of Clone Wars, it's a great way to add some more great content to Disney Plus, which we are all locked into till we die.
There you go.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I'm going to be giving, like, it is a weird era we live in when I'm just, like, more and more subscribing to things that are, like, for life.
Well, Disney did a nice run-through of all the content that's going to be on Disney Plus, and I love their call-outs of their good and bad movies from throughout the years, but also they did mention they've got The Rocketeer, and I can't wait to revisit that one.
Oh, I watched that pretty recently, like within the last, I'll say 18 months, I think. Like I watched it not long ago, and it is so good. It holds up. Exciting.
I think I had a Rocketeer action figure.
I definitely did. I had one of those. It was like it's like one of those like almost like Mego figures. It was like a completely rubber figure. Like it had no actual like opposable pieces, but it was like bendy. Yeah.
Well, that is going to do it for this edition of the Droids You're Looking For, a Star Wars podcast. Things are really going to get busier in the next few weeks. Hopefully a trailer the next time we speak. John Boyega's agent notwithstanding. Don't listen to anything he's got, but let's see. Maybe the 21st, Monday night, we might see another trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. That will do it for this week's edition of the Droids You're Looking For, a Star Wars podcast.
Honey?
Tip of the loaf.
A tip of the loaf cat. Hey, the maker. Oh, I forgot to mention his book is out. Well, Brian, keep that in. His book's out. Go read the book.
That's the appropriate.
Also,
that's the
Anakin Skywalker is the only person that C-3PO knew Anakin before anyone, so that's weird.
Because he made him.